Okay. You were actively involved in the civil rights movement. Did you work with any famous or well-known figures in the civil rights movement?
Yeah, yes, I did. There was people like Sidney Poitier, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, uh, uh, Harry Belafonte. I knew him real good, and and, uh, and a couple of female folk singers. Joan Baez. I met her in the backyard of a house one night, and she wanted to sing at a meeting we were having, and the people at the meeting weren't really interested in having those singers, so they told me to take a light bulb and hang it in the backyard over a wire, and told me to put her underneath that and let them sing while she was holding a meeting. And I found I found a light bulb and put her underneath there, and when she was singing, I found her real good. So I went to listening at her, and I told her, I said, if you keep singing like that, you're going to get famous. And now I get Christmas cards from her every year. Now I still do. I remember her beautiful singing. She was just great. Joan Baez. She was a beautiful lady. Looked kind of like your mom with long hair. Pretty lady. I liked her.
What was your involvement in the movement?
My involvement was being one of those people who went around looking for people who were looking for the chance to vote, and making sure that I talk at churches to get people who lived in towns to let those people coming from out of town. People came from all over the United States to help, and they were mostly white kids from colleges. And my job was to get them houses to stay in while they were in those little towns. And so I would go to speak at the churches to tell them to open their doors up so those children could stay with them. And I had one experience where I got to the church early, and when I got there, they put me under arrest, and I stayed in Parchment Prison for 6 months. Just sitting there. They didn't charge me with anything, but they said they would hold me for investigation, and they held me in that prison for 6 months.
Holy cow. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I was arrested 136 times in Mississippi.
Wow.
So I knew what jails look like from the inside.
I guess so.
I slept on a lot of steel plates.
That's crazy.
I was in cars that got blown up.
Insane. What do you remember of the violence around the country?
I see all the violence, and you know, where cars get blown up in Mississippi, where all kind of churches get burned up. I've seen churches get burned up down in southern Illinois, and over in particular places like Cairo and other places where they've had racial strife, and so some of the violence here look like the very violence I saw in the South. I've just had my car blown up. The one that's sitting right there got a big hole in the bottom of it, where somebody put an explosive under there. I don't know who it was, and and because I'm still paranoid from having a car blown up in the South with me in it, you know, my suspicions run the gauntlet. Or maybe they found me, or maybe I'm still in danger. And that's how come it's important for you to know. They tell me because the more people know, the more they would ask if I would suddenly disappear or suddenly got killed. Some of the newsmen said that they would definitely make sure that if I got killed here, they found out what killed me. So my being known is, and you're probably making me safer. So thank you.
We do what we can.
What do you remember about the assassinations that were important to the civil rights movement, whether that be Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, the Kennedys?
I remember that all of them was like a shot in the head to the civil rights movement. Even people we kind of disagreed with at times, like Malcolm X, we had some difficulty dealing with him as Christians. But even when he got shot, we knew that somehow Big Brother was watching us, and there's still so much suspicion that the government had its hand in some of the assassinations. The King brothers and sisters don't believe that that Rachel, that Charles was the only person involved. So most of them believe that somebody else was involved with it. And while we're looking at the government, and because some people in the news are revealing some of the country's secrets. There's a lot of people nervous that we're going to hear about people doing things to us, and I'm not speaking about us, but your families too, that we didn't know nothing about it. People looking at your cell phone and listening at you, watching you through your very television. We have to know that we have to be real careful that you, when you vote and look at government, that you shape a government that's going to be friends with you. All of us, black and white people.
Are these memories from being there or from television or other media?
My meetings was right in close and personal, most of them. Me and Jesse Jackson were sitting together the night the pastor and Dr. King preached his last sermon. I saw him as a little boy. I used to criticize him from his speeches that sound like poems. I was sometimes tickled by them. And I told Jesse Jackson that one day he was going to have to step forward and put some of those words in action. And one night I get a call at my house, and he said, "What about running for president?" I said, "Maybe you're a little too far ahead right now, partner." We never dreamed.
Was that 84?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that he was taking too big a step. I never dreamed that I'd be alive to see a president. Well, once the president gets out of office, you're going to be amazed at the amount of threats that have been made against this president. You're going to be amazed. They won't even talk about him now because they're such copycat people. But you're going to hear about an amazing... I've had people come to my house, white people come to my house, 2 men, and they said that the president was in town, and they started to go and shoot at him before they came to ask me for food. Me for food. Is that crazy? And they told me that. Said we had to get some food for our families, but we thought about going downtown first, and so our hunting rifles were right there in our car. I started to call the police. I started to.
That's crazy. Do you believe you have any influence in relations and civil rights now?
Yes.
All right.
On local levels, and I think that it's really good that on local levels, people have found out that it's not really advantageous to put one leader way out front. You know, I was hoping eventually that the leadership be spread. Some people said, we want another Martin Luther King. We want to, and that's a guy who stands right out in the front of people and makes speeches and leads marches and all. And our fear is that if we put somebody out there like that, they'd get killed too. I told Dr. King once that if he got killed, we'd be scattered like Indians in an Indian tribe when the chief got shot, that we'd all be scattered out. And when he got killed, I really did believe that the civil rights movement was going to be really splintered. But right now, there's things going to here. One thing we learned is that the way to get leadership in place is to do it from the inside. If you want to change the government become a politician. Get in it. Get in the middle. We have a couple of people who are congressmen